Yeah, I'm going to tell you something about Google Polymer and web components where Polymer is based upon. But before I start, I'd like to really give out a big thank you to Mark organizing this event, and also a warm welcome to the Polymer users, as this is the first meetup for us. Okay, so let's start with the web components. This is a small agenda of what I'm going to talk about today. It's an introduction to web components. Then I'm going to say something about Polymer. It's all a little opinionated. It's not my own approach to this thing. And I also will make a small demo if time permits. And I will say something about how we use it to build a really huge application. Oh, okay. And then, if time permits, I'll show you some sneak preview of our application. Yeah. Okay, so let's start. Web components. Web components is my view on it is a deep change in browser API. It adds some functionality to browsers, which enables library builders to build a special approach to web development. I guess since not everyone is here a web developer, you are also interested in other talks. I am trying to be a little bit more introductory in my explanations. So, and this what's subsumized in the web components are 4 technologies, and those 4 technologies are custom elements. Everyone who knows a little bit about HTML development knows, you build up your document structure with tags, and those tags are basically given by the browser. You can have like paragraphs or divs or something like that. And now this new technology enables you to create custom elements and to reuse other people's custom elements. I will show you in a minute what that would look like. Then there's HTML imports. HTML imports enables you to, say, import HTML assets into your browser without displaying them, and to use them in your actual DOM, in your actual code to display your page. HTML templates is something that exists a very long time already in sort of offside the browser. You sort of create document content programmatically, and there's also a way to do that in the browser right now. And also big technology to enable what we will just see in a few minutes is shadow DOM. The DOM, for all of those who are not familiar with web development, this is an abbreviation for a document object model. That is the way the browser sort of sees the world. Whenever it renders a page, it will do so using a document object model. This is a hierarchy of layout elements, to make it simple, layout elements that are displayed in the browser, sort of squares inside of squares, colored squares, text inside of those, and stuff like that. And it's also a tree, and this tree is what's the document object model. And this exists, I think, since the beginning of browsers. And now there's a new technology that's called shadow DOM. Shadow DOM is a way to encapsulate branches of this DOM into its own scope, kind of block scope for coders or something like that. Okay, there's a small link down here, which I wanted to use to show you the coverage. I said this is technology that browsers have to implement, to offer to you to use this. And as of today, not every browser does this. And it's the whole technology is spec'd, is sort of and the actually only browsers which fully support all those technologies are Opera and Chrome right now. Then there's Firefox, who did a lot on this already. Safari is getting their ass up as well. And Internet Explorer Edge is also working on these technologies. But you don't have to wait to use these, because there's a really great thing that Google built inside the Polymer project that enables you to use all of this technology today in all of the browsers. Okay, so I don't want to spend too much time on the components, because I want to show you something about Polymer, but a few words. Shadow DOM, I try to make a picture of this. What I just explained is on the right-hand side you have the browser, and I've drawn a small picture of what the DOM might look like in an abstract manner. And as you can see down there, this big circle, it encapsulates the shadow DOM. This could be a widget that has its own functionality, which is not exposed to the outside of the browser. And it, you know, without using Polymer, there's a new command in the browser. It's just called create shadow root, and you can just put stuff into this shadow root, and then it's encapsulated. This is very easy and very basic, and Polymer builds upon those things. Then the next of those 4 things is the custom elements thing. There's another command now in the browsers which is called register element, and you can sort of create your new tag thingy up there, and you use it in your normal HTML element as you would any other already existing browser tag. And then there's this import feature. There's a new area sort of in the browser which enables you to import HTML assets into this thing. This is accessible by the normal DOM API, and you can just grab stuff from there by using JavaScript and put it into your DOM whenever you need that. So this technology, those 4 things that I just introduced very quickly, is just a foundation to build sort of greater things, because it's really, I mean, unusable. There are reports of others who use this web components technology in browsers. They actually all say either use a framework or library, or you will end up building your own, because the effort that is required to use this to create your custom element and do all the plumbing is cumbersome. You have to do some tooling around it. And Polymer did a really great job with this, and it makes it, I will show you in the code demo in a minute, how it really simplifies this, and you will not be sort of required to use this browser technology directly. Okay, so that's what the Polymer project is. Polymer project wants to sort of bring these new features to web developers to build great stuff more easily. And the Polymer project is Google initiated, and they heavily invest in this, and they have my personal full support. It's really a great library. The Polymer project consists of basically 3 big parts. The first thing is they created a web components polyfill. That means a small, you know, include into everyone's code that enables you to use web components in every browser as of today. And it works really nicely. In fact, it works so nicely that the shadow DOM, or the native support, is not even turned on by default. Whenever you use Polymer, you're using this polyfill, and it works like a charm. The second thing is the actual Polymer library, which I will show you in a minute in the next slide, and which covers all the functionality I was talking about. And the third thing is a widget kit. So once you have the possibility to create elements, you will want to have some of those, and they give you a big head start with this. They build a brilliant, a really nice widget kit which you can use to stick together to build your own applications. And they separated this widget kit very nicely, and they made some which are sort of unopinionated with respect to material design. Material design is Google's way of displaying things, and when you want to build your own branding, your own stuff, your own application, you don't really need to use them. But they were so nice to get out the functionality of all the other stuff for you to use without being required to use their design. Okay, this is especially important if you just not only want to use Android apps which look like Google or Google apps, but you want to do your own things. It's very, very possible with this library. So the demo. Okay, how much time do I have? Let's wait a second. Ooh. Now I have to sit down, and I need to use 2 hands. I will speak up a little. I hope you can hear me. Okay. It won't take too long, I promise. So I will show you my demo webpage here. You can see that? Okay. So this is Hello World, and this is the code for Hello World. Wait a second. Okay, I think this is big enough for everyone to read. Very simple, no web components yet. I just did two things. I included, I'm going to make the most minimal example of Polymer whatsoever, okay? So this is the polyfill that I'm including here, and this is just a div which says hello world in the browser. Now, my first demo is I'm going to demo a widget which Google provides to use for you. And this shows off how easy it is to incorporate other people's widget natively in a browser. So I'm now importing this thing here. This is a widget, it's a Google Map widget. You just import the code into your project, into your file here, and you then have the Google Map element available. So you have a tag, just as you have the 10 years old div tag, you now have the Google Maps tag. You punch in latitude and longitude as attributes, and you close the tag, and then I save that and go over to my browser and reload the page, and you will see a full map displayed just like that, very easy. All the plumbing of the map under the hood is all done by Google. You don't have to see that. You don't have to include other libraries or do anything. It's really brilliant. Okay, now, but this is a latitude that Google built for us, an element that Google built for us. Let's build our own element. I prepared something for that. Here is my own element. I called it my element. And I made another file for that, and that is over here. So to see that element, as we've seen before, in my browser, I use this tag here, my element. I save that, and let's see in this other file here where there's my element, we include the Polymer library, and this is how you define, wait a second, let me remove that. You don't look at the comments, right, the gray stuff. I'm just showing you the colored stuff. This is just comments. That's stuff I want to show you a few seconds later. So ignore this for a moment. So how you define your own element, you say DOM module, you give it a name, that's about it. And this DOM module contains a template tag, and it contains this div, and then now you have your element. And the thing is, here is where Polymer kicks in. You say, okay, I have a new element which is called my element, and the Polymer class here, or the Polymer function, this does all the plumbing for you. It does the create register element and all the stuff that I showed you before with the web components. So if I do that and I reload the page, I have now this is a custom element, and you know what? I will show you how this works. I just copy this like a couple of times in my page, and I have this custom element like 5 times, right? I can use it wherever I want. So let's undo that. Now I want to build a little bit on this example, show you a little bit of data binding, because Google Polymer also adds data binding. Now let's see. I first have this number. I add in these properties over here. I think that's good enough. Okay, properties is what, this doesn't matter. Thanks. Properties is what you tell your element you have some kind of variables which you can set, and you will have this one because I set the default one. And now I make a paper button. A button is an element that's provided by Google Polymer. I'm going to include that. I have a button in all of my elements. Didn't I get rid of those elements here? Okay, only one element now. And, sorry. I'm going to be fast. Okay, I add a function. And this is this one over here. This one's missing. Should be good. This function does nothing else than add 1 to the number. And this is sort of executed whenever I tap the button. So really fast, I click the button and you see how the number increases, and you can see that because of this variable is bound to the div, the number increases wherever I use it in this element. You see, this is sort of data binding in action. Excuse me? On the what?
Zoom in on the browser.
On the browser, sure. Sorry. Yeah, right.
Okay.
Okay.
That's a big button.
Yeah, big button.
Can you make 2 elements now? So
yeah, sure. Easily. It's all inside this element what we're creating, and I just copy this 2 times now, and we see we have it 2 times. Each one counts its own variable, private to its space. And I also want to show one more thing, which is also very nice to show you how templates work. I reduced to 1 element again, and look at this now. This is a template, and it's a DOM repeat kind of template, which does sort of repeat its content according to an array. I define an array which is called myList. It contains these 3 values, and what the template does is it sort of displays this div once for each entry in this array. So let's see that very quickly here. So we have this here, okay? We have this 3 times, and each time we have the item displayed that we have here. And what I do now is, whenever I click the button, I add another element to the array. And we again see how data binding works its magic in the background here, because this list is data bound to the template. I go here, I say reload, and I go this, and I can add items until I fall down. Okay, once more. Okay, so see that? I could also easily, remove stuff from the list and stuff like that. So that's, I think it's enough for a demo for Polymer right now. I think this is the easiest demos you can make, and you can do a lot more with this. Styling maybe if you want. I removed that. Let's say make second style. This is very important. The styling, is it working? Yeah. Okay, so you can apply your own styling just with CSS, no fancy hacks necessary to do anything. You're just communicating right with the browser. This is something that's very important to me. So
maybe 1 or 2 questions up to this point? Yeah. Anyone? Otherwise?
Yeah. Sure. You can also ask questions later on to how this works or how you combine it with this and that. Okay, so I showed you all of this, creating custom elements, how data binding works, and how you use templates to, improve your application. Okay, so I know that there are several very good tutorials which explain Polymer to you much better than I can do this now in 20 minutes. So I will leave it to that. With respect to the introduction of actual Polymer code. But what I want to tell you a little bit about is our own experience using this library. How does it scale? How does it combine with backends? And especially with respect to backends, there's one thing how we can see those custom elements. These custom elements can also incorporate functionality. They don't need necessarily always be widgets or something like that, visual components. They can also cover up functionality. For example, one element that Google provides is a Firebase collection. You can do Meteor style. For everyone who knows the Meteor library, very famous for its ease of connection to the backend. You can do similar things with this in Polymer. What we do is, and there's actually a link to the talk before me, we use as a message router, which is also a web server, but this is sort of less important. The thing is, this is an IoT message router. It is considers the browser as a IoT device. You can route from the browser to the browser, from server, wherever you want. And to connect to this thing, we wrote our custom element, which is called Autobahn connection, which establishes the connection and does all the data binding up to the backend and back forth to the clients. Okay, so what about the tooling around Polymer? The tooling around Polymer is quite, complete, I'd say. It's also one aspect where this library is, there are other very good libraries out there, but this library has some goods to it. They really put a lot of thinking into how they, expose their library to the developers. So I'm pretty happy with this. There's a web component testing tool for doing JS unit testing, and it's perfect because Polymer elements are just perfect for unit testing by the definition of them. And you have other build tooling available to separate your HTML and minify and all this stuff that everybody does. You have package managers. I mean, not yet for Polymer. You use Bower or npm, whatever have you. And you have nice styling support. Actually, it took them a while to get this right, but now they have a good approach to this. And again, I cannot repeat this enough. It's all compatible with pure HTML, JS, and CSS. So you will be working right with the browser, and it's only a very thin layer between you and the browser, which is very different from other libraries. I actually showed you that already. Now maybe I just give you an example. Yeah, I mean, data binding. You can read a lot of this in the web. But, well, my 2 cents on data binding is you should be very aware when you use that. It's a lot of magic which is going on, which can be a great help for when you use it properly. But it can also be painful to debug that stuff if you didn't, keep yourself on top of the problem somehow. Yeah? But okay, so that is that. One more demo of the application that we built. I mean, we're doing. I will just flip around a little bit in the application and show stuff. But we are doing a data science sort of data preparation analytics app. So let's see what it looks like. I know I'm right here. How do I? Yeah, Shadow DOM. Oops. Okay, that's 100%. Can see that? Okay, so this is. The application, it's consists of many panes. I'll just flip around a little. I didn't do any animations yet. So you have a lot of widgets and panels, and you have like editors, like many of them. You have, okay, this is more like D3, more editors. You have a search panel, which is actually nothing to do with Polymer. It's just CSS sliding out. You have, inspectors. More editors over here. You have. I just want to demo how huge you can build applications and they still run really smooth. You can have full screen code, and it's a project in progress. You can write code. What else can I show you? You have this thing over here. Wait a second. Can I do that? Never mind. Okay. And you can, and one more thing, maybe it's really nice to do some data binding. Let me reload that. I have 2 browsers open now. One is Safari and one is. Do we have a minute or are we over already?
Yeah, 1 minute.
Okay,
so
okay. No? Doesn't work? What's going on? It's only local, but I have to. Sorry. Open up.
This is not Polymer, right?
No, this is the Crossbar IoT message router. This is. Okay, I know. This something just broke down. I'm not going to debug this right now in front of you. So anyway, I flipped around a little bit. You have seen you can build really huge applications with this, like 50 or more custom elements, and it's all smooth and nice, and even on all the other browsers, in spite of the polyfill. So I'm really happy with it. Yeah, thanks for your patience. If you have, okay. So questions? Well, you can do that. It depends on how well the other library lets you use custom elements in their code, because many of them shield you from the code, like Sencha XJS. I have worked a while on this stuff. But you can. I mean, I know, for example, there was one story where GitHub actually uses one button of their page. They're just using a simple Polymer element. They put it in and use it. So if you like, you can create your element and you can use it in whatever application you like. No dependencies other than that. Like the Google map. You don't really care what other library you're using around this thing.
So to be more specific, a Polymer element is just a collection of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. You can throw in anything you want, basically. You can throw in jQuery or whatever JavaScript framework you like, but people won't gonna like the element if it blows up like this huge. So there are actually some patterns on defining elements, right? So what they should do and what they shouldn't do. And
sure.
Of course, pulling all frameworks inside of an element is not something you shouldn't do.
But I think the bigger problem will arise when you have already a big application based on XJS or something else like React or something. Then you have set up your own structure of code. And you usually don't have a place to put a custom element in this. So, but you have to figure out if you want to use that.
How's the connection between Polymer and, for example, Angular, where you have directives that look a lot like custom?
Yeah, I have to admit, I never worked with Angular, and I think it has some common aspects, because they also have their I think they have this close to HTML, close to the browser approach. So I'm fully with this strategy. Others are not, but I do. But I can tell you more about this than that. Sorry.
So who's using Polymer up to now? Okay, 1 hand, 2 hands, you?
Of course.
Okay, so basically, who knows other JS frameworks like for building large UI, like Cooksdo or something, or what other?
Like more modern ones are, as I said, Meteor.js. Anybody knows Meteor?
Okay.
Anybody knows React.js? Maybe, or Mithril, something like that. But yeah, those are also very modern frameworks. Like, I mean, especially React.js is supposed to be very fast. It enables server-side rendering. It's a Facebook framework. And then there's, I don't like it too much because it has this virtual DOM approach. It's very good for slow mobile connections. I know Facebook cares about these things, but I don't have the sort of problem of having slow devices with low network connectivity.
One or two more questions?
You mentioned that debugging is really painful.
Excuse me.
You mentioned that debugging is really painful.
Well,
do it
no.
in here.
Once you know what you have to look at, it's quite okay. No, but what I was referring to is debugging data binding, and that's actually true for all other libraries which use data binding. I mean, I think even those guys from React, they wrote a sort of an article about how to use data binding in general, to not, mix up your code or mess up your code completely. So there's Knockout.js. There's, I think, React.js also has data binding. Polymer, yeah.
So I just want to add up to that. So if you know what is a hell of debugging, then I think it's like a diff hell we want to try to avoid. So if you know Google Maps from before, it's just like a diff hell. It's like hundreds of thousands of diffs. And with Polymer, you can easily inspect the code. It's just HTML elements, and it has your names in the elements.
In fact, that's very true, sorry, because I use the browser as my IDE, as my debugger. It's a brilliant IDE. You see live changes and everything. And before I developed with XJS, which is also a diff hell, I mean, they made big progress, but you can hardly recognize. You code stuff, and XJS magically does stuff in the browser for you, like diffs and diffs and diffs and diffs and styling and whatever, and you're not supposed to touch that stuff. And it's completely different here. You are allowed, you're asked to touch the stuff. Yeah.
So there was one more question here.
Can you already develop in the browser like you were supposed to be with this in newer browsers like Chrome?
I mean, I think, I don't know, I don't use the step-through debugger stuff in the browser. Some people do that. I think browser of Firefox, or is that what you're referring to? Like
Yeah,
really
because
stepping
otherwise I think it looks to me like it's hard to develop. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I'm not doing that kind of thing. I'm sorry, yeah, that's true. But I don't do that anywhere. I don't know why, but I just do messaging and finding the place, I don't know, catching errors, stuff like that.
Okay, maybe one more question. Anyone?
Okay, then we'll be also there in the hackathon. I hope to see some of you there who are interested in this technology, and we hope you can build a great application there.
Yeah. So about that, so if you have any cool ideas for the Polymer hackathon on Friday, I have lots of my ideas in my head, but I want to know your ideas. So we will do a quick pause after the next talk. So you can come up to me or after the event, or please stay with us until the end of the event. We will have some beer afterwards with the speakers, so you can also just talk there with the speakers, grab a beer, have a nice conversation, of course. So please stay here. And please give a big cheers for Marko again for the Polymer talk.